CEO of Digital Divide Data. I'm Whitney Harrelson, the Director of Making Sense International's Collaborative Learning and Action Institute, or CoLab. We're thrilled Jeremy can join us today to share the tremendous work Digital Divide Data has been doing in the area of impact sourcing. They're really pioneering the development of this innovative new sector. And Jeremy is an innovative social entrepreneur who mentioned to me that he's really honored to work as a colleague with a team of more than 1,000 staff members, many of whom are youth who are living in East Africa and Southeast Asia. We're going to learn today about how Digital Divide Data, or DDD, has been increasing employment and educational opportunities for thousands of young people, and how you can collaborate with DDD as they continue to expand their work around the globe. So if you have any question for Jeremy during the webinar, please write it in the chat box that's located at the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And while he's presenting, please keep your microphone muted. With that, I'm going to turn it right over to Jeremy. We can get started.
Great. Thanks so much, Whitney. Thanks for everybody joining. I appreciate it. So I'm not an expert on webinars, but I appreciate someone else's question. I'm based in New York today, is where I'm talking from. I don't know, Whitney, you can help me, or we can make it up. There's 6 of us here, 4 other participants. Maybe you could just introduce each other briefly. If on the chat, maybe I'll just call your name, and you could just say kind of where you are today and what your organization is, and maybe just what your interest was and kind of why you're joining today's call. So Chelsea, could you tell us, where you're from and why you're here today?
Chelsea is a colleague of ours here at Making Sense International, and we're documenting and helping to share out the great work that Digital Divide Data is doing around the world so that others can really learn about your model and find out new ways to collaborate. There's so much here to learn from, so some of us here on the team are excited to be part of this webinar too. And maybe everybody, just for the purpose of right now, they could just put it into the chat box so we don't have some people who are becoming unmuted, and then we'll have some background noise as we go.
Okay, but great. We'll just feel a little bit of a group. So Alajok, you know how to use the chat piece, I know, since you've typed this like that. So maybe you could tell us who you are, Natasha and Tess, if you're able to. Just tell us what organization you're from and why you're joining today. And then I will jump into this update, and as a few other people are joining us as well as we get going. So can people do that? Just update us where you are today. I see Tess typing, so I appreciate that. Natasha and Alajok, can you just tell us where you are today and what organization you're from? And anything briefly about kind of what you were trying to get from today's call, so I could make sure to address that. And as people are doing that, I will just Making Sense, Natasha as well, and Tessa, student at George Washington, great, and Alajok, who probably has a fancier name offline, will tell us where she or he is from. And oh, great, Alejandra. So thank you very much, and thanks for being in from Colombia today and joining us on this. So look, let me spend 15 minutes then, because of this format, and kind of take through a few slides here, and then let's just talk together. Actually, tell me if Tess and Alejandra, you were not at the Making Sense conference, right? So I'm going to start off by playing this 3.5-minute video for everybody. And Mark and Whitney, if I play this now, everyone will be able to hear it.
When we looked at the pressing problems in the world, youth unemployment really rises to the top. Today, 6 of the fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa. But what's not happening, that growth is not trickling down sufficiently to people who need to feel it. Without that equity, you're actually going to create even more social problems. Addressing youth unemployment is key, and the time to do that is now.
Our objective is to create employment for these youth. So we have partnered with different companies who deal with information, communication and technology, ICT.
We have people coming both locally and internationally asking, can we send this work? Impact sourcing is one avenue that we are using
to help bring people out of poverty.
You have the ability to take big pieces of work and send it any place in the world, then re-aggregate that work and send it to a client sitting in Switzerland.
Employees who come from disadvantaged backgrounds deliver high quality work, being that they take the work very seriously and they stay longer. That is very good for our clients.
Essentially, my loyalty is to my customer. Impact sourcing shouldn't have an impact on my business. I should be able to get quality work at a reasonable price and get it on schedule. We discovered DDD. They do that, and I'm going to go where the best capabilities are.
I manage a variety of Stanford's library technology projects. Digital divide data, they've been really tenacious. They've really hung in there with that quality back and forth. They've brought new things to our eyes that we didn't have the time to see as they were doing their work.
Companies get the same quality of work, but the benefit to society is much more fulfilling.
You cannot just take someone from a slum to an office. They have to undergo a hands-on training. Giving them the computer training and also adding the life skills makes it work.
It's a bridge to a path out of poverty.
When they look around, they have little reason to be optimistic about life.
Since my parents passed away, my eldest brother, he lost job.
If I were not working here by now, I don't know where I could have been.
Right now, I'll be still back in the streets.
I would have not been in school. I felt like I'm just done.
When you train that person, within weeks, they are completely transformed.
This job has greatly helped me. I'm in a family of 5. The little that I have here, I divide it accordingly. And my brothers and my sisters, they are proud of me.
Every project comes with a different skill. As they come, you keep on learning a new thing and a new thing.
This working environment provides job security. It can give me the wings of becoming a teacher.
The youths get so much experience that they can go and get another job somewhere.
Before I was not skilled, but now I am skilled. I know that I have a bright future.
Technology is having a huge role, and my sense is that in the next 10 or 20 years, it's going to create even more equity in ways that we can't even imagine today.
The hope for the future is to see more change, not only in Nairobi, but the whole of Kenya, not only Africa, but the whole world.
Great. Okay, super. So that is a little update of what we are calling impact sourcing. And so what is impact sourcing? We started digital divide data in Cambodia in 2001 because we saw that there were a lot of work being training youth, but there were too few youth who were finding jobs. What our innovation that we've tried to add to the field is creating a sustainable business that employs youth to perform digital work for real customers and allowing them to access further education and ultimately providing a stepping stone to professional jobs. So basically what we've been saying is, look, this work is, tens or hundreds of billions of dollars of IT work has been shifting around the world. How could we together get more of this work to go to poor countries and poor populations? And how can we make sure that work is used as a stepping stone for people to really lift people up from one stage of life to the next and really have a lasting impact? And so together with our friends at Rockefeller and others in this field, we're calling this impact sourcing. And different variations have been now implemented all over the world. There's variations in India doing rural BPO, getting some of this work to lower to youth with less education than in rural areas. Throughout Asia, throughout South America, different people have been trying this in different ways. For us, what it means is that it's a way for us to deliver business services to our clients and deliver opportunity for our employees who are some of the most disadvantaged people on the planet. So for our clients, this is about just the regular case for outsourcing, which is focus on your core business and let us work on the pieces that we do well. And also from the business value, we deliver to you very dedicated people, lower turnover than in other operations, in other options you might have. and a very committed team to do your work with high quality. For our youth, this really is about, as I said, how do we help lift you out of poverty and help this being an access to otherwise being stuck in a cycle of poverty, instead using this as a stepping stone. In particular, in our offices, we focus on youth who are just finishing high school, who are very smart, very motivated, and come from poor families and would have otherwise not been able to go on to higher education or higher skilled work. Just a few things about DDD. This year, right now, we have about 1,100 people worldwide. About 1,000 of those are kind of entry-level employees, our main employees who we're working to help. About 100 managers worldwide. We have 6 people in the U.S. We try to keep that small, who are working on sales and project management and fundraising. You look on the right, the fancy graph around our staff growth and our revenue that we've had. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll maybe just kind of go through these pages and then flip back and forth as people have questions. And also feel free to type in if you have a specific question that's on there. Now, this is the case that we make. I mean, there's always a question about kind of, are our clients care about the social piece? Do they not care about the social piece? And so we've tried to broaden the argument. What are the cases we can make from a business perspective? And so on the left side are the things that traditional other BPOs have, which is excellent quality, turnaround, competitive pricing, and we think we're even stronger on the low attrition rate. On the right-hand side, we're taking a look at what are we doing for our employees, as we talked about. What I thought was on the right-hand side as I was looking is what we also make the cases to employers about how working with us has a better business value for you, how it can motivate your own employees, so our clients' employees will feel proud that they're helping create opportunities for people, that if there's a critique of your kind of outsourcing, which can be controversial sometimes, that you know that you're working with a reputable group, it's a nonprofit that has been vetted by donors and others as really caring about people. And so we think those are things that can help clients from a business perspective, and also helping people test out new geographies for diversity. Our overall model, as I talked about, involves long-term retention, running our own facilities, running security and business quality that's consistent with how other BPOs are doing it. And our model is basically recruiting youth, training them for some period, employing with them, and then graduating people. If we take a look at our clients, a whole range. Sorry if it's loud here. Sorry, Vlad. I just got talking on a webinar. Sorry about that. And we're taking a look at our clients in a range of kind of corporate and nonprofit and academic. We started more in the world of kind of nonprofits and academics. Universities and libraries. We try to get more into corporate publishers and other kinds of work because that's more recurring, long-standing kind of recurring revenue, which is more valuable for our business. And lastly, just the last page for now, this is how we look at our impact. We look at increase in lifetime earnings. Can people see the mouse as I put it on here? Maybe. We take a look at years from DDD and look at our graduates. Our graduates, when they first graduate after DDD, are making about $200. Our current average of our graduates is about $300, but after 6 years, people are making $500 or so. And we compare that with a kind of minimum wage or low-skilled work, and we look at over time kind of where people are. Now, we haven't done a randomized control sample on it, but we do survey all of our employees before, during, and continually afterwards, and we do really see this continued increase in their incomes. So that's what I want to share, and I would love to just have a conversation with people. So please feel free to type or speak if that works all right. So Alejandra, let's see. Great, thank you. Do you want to even try speaking, or I don't know if you prefer to? If typing is more comfortable for you, then feel free. Okay. What's the plan for scaling? Okay. So we're now in three offices, 3 countries. We get emails a lot from people who say, look, we'd like to open, we'd like to start DDD or do something like this. Can you help us? And we really love to be helpful if we can. And our mission isn't about, employing 1 million people directly. It's really about helping to be a catalyst for this. We think we can do this well by being a great model of a sustainable business that's doing this, but we really do want to encourage and help others. When we think about it in terms of our strategy, our goal is to continue to grow in our current facilities. When we look at new facilities, our criteria is, number one, do the employees in a new location have skills that we don't have in our current offices? So when we went to go look at Kenya, we saw that people's English is the language of instruction in schools since elementary school. And so there's a much higher level of English than we have in Cambodia and Laos. And so that added skills and new kinds of work that we can do that we weren't doing before. Second is there a local or regional market? And so in Kenya, about half of our work now is coming from local clients, which is very exciting to us. In Cambodia, it's only about 20%, but it's about half and half in Kenya. So that's what we're taking a look at. So right now, we're actually looking at Peru together with the Inter-American Development Bank, and we're taking a look to see, can we find some founding clients who want to do work in Spanish in Peru, either in the country or the region or potentially internationally, that will be a basis of work for us. So that's our kind of expansion to new geographies. Beyond that, our scaling model is to just continue to grow the business, which is continue to grow the services we're offering today. We're always continuing to look at new services. We have a senior management meeting coming up, and we're taking a look at our our service line and what are some new areas that are promising that we continue to grow. And so that's what we're doing. I'd say that we've learned, if anything, and maybe it starts to come, to some of the lessons. And please elaborate the lessons you've learned. Let's see. So good, thank you, Whitney. It's helpful. Can you please elaborate the lessons learned you've had in each context in which you do work? How do you approach different clients you have? What do you find is most important to them, and the messages you share? Yeah. And Whitney, when you say context, do you mean kind of geographies or just different aspects of the business? Right, the geographies. So let's see a few things for our learnings. The big key piece, so one big key piece is how do you attract the management? And one is what skills do operators really have, and the other is how do you really attract managers, the management that you need. And so one thing we found in Cambodia and Laos, in terms of, like I said, in terms of employees, because it's not an English-speaking country, we do great work there, but it's limited the kinds of work that we can do because it can't be work that involves too much English. Now, there is, a good amount, even data entry of text and things with images and layout and so on that we can do, but it has limited the potential upside of the business in Cambodia and Laos because of that. We see much more upside in Kenya because of the English abilities and some of the higher problem-solving abilities. We didn't really realize it until we got into it there, but we just saw, I think, the young people from the slums in Nairobi, their problem-solving and education is actually better than what we're seeing in Cambodia. So that's the kind of on the skill level of employees. You really have to analyze kind of, particularly the groups that you want to help, what kind of skills do they have, and then pick your right spot. In Cambodia and Laos, we really wanted to help women who were rescued from sex trafficking early on. So we did a program with the Cambodian Women's Crisis Center, and what happened is that the first group of women had third-grade educations or less and weren't even literate in Khmer. And so we just realized, look, for this kind of work that we're doing, that's just kind of a bridge too far. I would love to hire and would love to be helpful on the issue of kind of employment after sex trafficking, but it just wasn't a fit with DDD. And so we had to pick the right spot. So we picked people finishing high school, being strict on the criteria around kind of disadvantage and not being able to otherwise go on to university, but that we think can do this kind of work. So one is kind of matching the skills of employees. The second is around management talent. One of the big benefits of India doing this, even rural BPO in India, is that they've got a lot of BPO managers and from other companies, and so that's a challenge. And because of that, one lesson here in Cambodia, we opened in our second year a second office in Battambang, a secondary town in Cambodia. It's only the third largest town. It's decent size. But 2 years ago now, we closed that office and we combined it with the Phnom Penh office. There were a few reasons, both business and social, that it was better to do. But from a business perspective, it was hard to build up the managers that you need in that location. It was both an issue of being more of a rural place and also just being a second location. What we've seen is the big cost in this and the big challenge to compete globally is really to put in place the right technology and systems and people that you need to operate a kind of a world-class standard. So we found, if anything, kind of being in more limited locations and figuring out a strategy around okay, right, I'll answer that, Alejandra. So that's kind of a lesson around Cambodia, was that, I would love for this rural BPO to work more. I think it's challenging on the kinds of things people can do. I think in rural BPO you need to do, in India I think it can work because they're kind of subcontracting to the firms that are in the bigger cities. I think it has to be more specific tasks that don't need as much kind of training and management. So those are a couple of the lessons kind of from there. I would say in Kenya what we've seen also is that we can hire a local management team that is all Kenyan. In Cambodia, we've worked really hard on that as well, but we found that the top couple managers have had to been for expats, preferably kind of people from the region, but even some, people from the U.S., which we've tried to limit. But we found that to kind of deliver at this level, that it's been hard to get that kind of management that we need there. So, so that's Whitney. How do you? Okay, I'll come back to the clients piece. Can you please share your right? Okay, Alejandra, in terms of expansion, what we're saying is either or both, basically. We're first trying to look at clients in Peru or the region in Latin America that would want to outsource tasks. So call centers or other data entry, we're looking for that. We're also interested in looking at clients internationally who would like English, who like Spanish, although in Peru, as I understand it, they don't have high levels of English, the people we would hire, and so for international work, we think you need to be more bilingual, but we're open to that. So we're looking for both of those, and we'd be happy to collaborate with you in some way. Let me flip back through this. So Whitney, yeah, one of our focuses has been on disabled youth, actually in two different ways. People with physical disabilities, particularly people whose legs might not function as well or properly. This is kind of good work in front of computers that people can do, especially since we finally have an office in Cambodia with an elevator, although there are many years without one, and either people having to work on the first floor, which wasn't ideal, or people helping each other up the stairs, which wasn't great. What we're doing in Kenya very successfully now is we have a team that's hearing impaired and are doing really great work. And one of the keys there has been training managers in sign language hearing hearing managers who are then can be integrated with the team, so it's not just a kind of totally segregated team. But that's been really exciting to see that work. Okay, let me see. Let's go back here. Disabilities tests. So gender. Yeah, we've been very insistent on having half women and men in terms of our operators. And so it's taken extra work, but we've been able to do it in all of the places that we've worked. I mean, in Kenya, for example, after 6 months, we realized it was more like 75-25 of kind of men versus women, and it just took some extra work of pushing and finding more NGOs in the slums that hire women to kind of refer people to us, and just took kind of extra effort on that. So let's see. Do we, I think I have Whitney's question I haven't answered, maybe a few more lessons. And let's see if we have a few more questions. Let's see. So in terms of clients, how do we approach different clients you have? What do you find is most important to them in the messages you share? Well, I think what we've come to saying is I think we get in the door a lot of places because of our interesting story. You know, Cambodia, Laos and Kenya, social entrepreneur, you know, Rockefeller or school, or, you know, being in the world is flat. So, you know, we have different pieces like that that kind of get us in the door some places they might not normally consider a $5-6 million, 1,000-person firm. But at the end of the day, people really are just focused on the key things, which is, you know, what's your quality, what's your turnaround, what's your price, and, you know, at the end of the day, are really focused on that. I think we kind of build a stronger relationship with people because of you know, those things, because of the kind of a social piece. But at the end of the day, it's really about those kind of same messages and you know, continuing to deliver and hammer those. Okay, let's see. I've talked to the market in Colombia, and I've seen actual demand source from the BPO players. Oh, so Alejandro, tell us about that. Is you're taking a look in Colombia about potentially being a subcontractor to BPO players? Is that what you're talking about? So that they would subcontract work to you? Okay, let's see. I was recently raised some seed funding and planning for a local operation. That's great. We'd love to hear more about that. And would this be subcontracting work to other bigger BPO players, or we could also talk about this offline afterwards? But looking for real clients, right? When you talk about real clients, are you talking about some BPO players that are in Colombia already that would subcontract to you, or BPO players that are outside of Colombia? Yeah, local people. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, subcontracting from local BPO players can be a good thing to do. The challenges there are a few things. Is it can be a great strategy. We've tried to explore it. We haven't found it kind of work. We don't have BPO players in our geographies, and so we've talked a little bit about the larger Indian players, but we haven't made that work. The challenge is if they use you for overflow work, right, then you only have work kind of, they may, you know, there may not be much of a guarantee around the work, so they may give you the work when they have it, they might take it away a month later, they might come back to you, and it's kind of hard to build a business around that. However, if you do have a lower cost structure that's attractive to them, and they're probably always want to increase the revenue per hour in of their seats that they have in their centers, so they may be able to give you the lower margin work that you could still do some work with. That's really the issue, and then they're capturing more of the margin, but they're cutting out your sales cost. I mean, if anything, one of the lessons here is if you can have fewer clients, that's much better, and recurring work is really much better than project work. I mean, even $1 million project over 3 years is great, but then it's over. Instead of $300,000 for a year for 3 years, you'd even rather, $100,000 or $200,000 project that goes on forever, basically, or at least until you mess up or the world changes. So, I think those are the kind of things to think about. But that's really exciting, and we'd love to hear more about what you're doing there. Now, Whitney said, "What do you see the key trends in this new sector moving forward? Do any of your graduates join DDD afterwards? So may I know why you chose for Peru and not Colombia?" Actually, that was the IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank, that asked us if we would take a look at Peru. So that was their kind of decision around that. We actually I think Colombia was one of them on the table. Frankly, I know there's more going on in Colombia. There may have been, kind of more opportunity there for us, although maybe more is happening without us. So, we do try to go to places where we can have a bit of a catalytic effect and help encourage others to do this as well. So we're glad you're raising the flag in Colombia, and we'd be happy to help you. Do any of your graduates join DDD afterwards? So yeah, so after 4 years, we then call people graduates, which means they kind of graduate from the entry-level program. Then they either become managers, and all our middle managers are former operators or former employees. Or they go on and graduate to jobs outside of DDD. So the larger majority, graduate outside. We have about 700 people who graduated, about probably 75 internal people internally who are managers. But that have been promoted, but most do go outside afterwards. Real quick, right? Okay. And I'm just flipping back through this. I think there was a question from Whitney that's saying about the trends. Thanks, Whitney, for pitching in here. What do you see are the key trends in this new sector moving forward? Well, I think the big question is going to be does this go more mainstream? And I think to go, you basically have DDD that started this 13 years ago. You then had a number of other players that kind of adopted the model. Samasource, that's had a bit of a different model of kind of subcontracting work to groups and doing more kind of micro tasks rather than BPO work. You then have others, rural BPO and others that have kind of been doing this, which is great. I think the real question is, does this go mainstream? So you've now got the Accentures and the Microsofts and the IBMs who are all talking about this because of the Rockefeller Initiative, and so I think that's really what the real question is, which is, do they adopt this themselves? I think ultimately what's going to matter is, does Microsoft and other companies say to their big outsourcers, you need to give 5% of your work to an impact sourcer, and here's the criteria of an impact sourcer, and that's what we need to do. And I think if it comes from the clients, the pressure, then it would actually happen. So. Alejandra, it's probably best to talk a little more outline about the kind of technology. What I'd say is that we don't have any fancy technology really. We do license different tools for or create different tools for projects depending on kind of what the project need is. We don't have like one overall. Some people have like one interface or kind of software they use for all of their work. Tess, the soft skill trainings for your employees, when people come to DDD or even a few years after they've graduated and we say what's most valuable at DDD, they say it's the educational experience. And, but then when they're 3, 4, 5 years out and more, what they say is really was the work experience which is most valuable. And to me, that's what DDD is really about. It's really about how do you get get skills around working in teams, doing high quality work, quick turnaround, communications, and showing up on time and so on. So to me, it's really about the soft skills. So I'd actually say that we do a little bit of training around the soft skills, that material that we have, but it's nothing too dramatic. It's mostly kind of through action, through being at DDD, and through the work that we have people learn that. So, I don't know, it's hard work here being the only one talking. Well,
if anyone online now has any further question, please type it into the chat box and we'll just hold for a couple of seconds now.
Sure, Tess, my pleasure. Good luck, and if you want to send me an email with some of your interest in this and stuff, then I'd be happy to learn.
And if Jeremy, you wouldn't mind sharing your contact information right there in the chat box, that would be great if people could be in touch with you. And after this webinar, we will be promoting the recording of it quite broadly through our networks. And so it's exciting to see there may already be a new collaboration with Alejandro and you. And so we look forward to seeing how many others may come after this discussion today. And we just thank you so much for your time, Jeremy. We know that you are super busy, so many things on the go, which is exciting in terms of how DDD is growing and developing. Lots going on. So thank you very much for taking the time to share some of your tremendous successes with us today and your plans for the future. And just as the leader of this sector, we really are looking to you all as a thought leader and how you're kind of moving this whole sector forward. So we really just appreciate your being a part of this knowledge exchange with us today.
Great. I appreciate it. I think this sector really stands on the foundation of this work in youth, education and development, and the work that's been going on the real front lines of of helping youth get more opportunities. Many NGOs that have been doing this in a lot of ways, and for a small number, but to say for some of those people coming out of that, how can we then help take them to the next stage? So we appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from anybody, and thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. And we'll be back in touch soon with more information on some upcoming webinars.
Thanks.